about the different ways. Again, you guys mentioned boots on the ground. It's very important. You guys are seeing properties every day, from grandma's messed up house that hasn't been redone to the 60s to brand new construction. You guys are there every day. How do you help investors find property?
Yeah. Thanks for doing the question I was going to take off. It's fine.
You're welcome.
So I think that the key is you have to have somebody. If you're not an agent, I see there's some agents here, but if you're not an agent and you don't have access to MLS, that's okay. There's other ways to get them. But as you guys have seen, people are paying way above market value for flips right now, right? Like everybody can agree with that. It's kind of hard. If you go to like a billig auction or something, there's like 100 people there and it goes for like 50 grand more than it's worth, okay? And I've noticed that too. And I go to a lot of the auctions with my investors. One of the ways that even recently I've had some success with some investors is some of the ballroom auctions, because a lot of those, you haven't seen the property yet, so people are a little bit more hesitant to spend. But in the last year, I've had quite a few investors pick up some good properties from there. Get on some of these wholesale lists. Obviously, there's a lot of them going around now. You have to be on those though, because like the Market Pros and some of these others. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going around. You just have to have somebody that can come in and be like, okay, that's a good deal, that's a bad deal, I have an inside track with this particular wholesaler. I mean, those are the things you need to do, because when they go out in those email chains, there's thousands of people on there. So a lot of the times they're getting bid up above those levels. So another good one that I've still have found things recently is HUD Home Store. You can typically negotiate with them pretty well. I noticed that. HUDHomestore.com. And the thing I like about them is when you make offers, you don't have to do the entire contract first. You can just do part of it, which is always easier. When they have like an online portal to submit the offers, you get your earnest money and your proof of funds or your LLC docs, and you just submit it that way. So those are some good ways. But I think the other one that's sort of undervalued is find an agent that knows the other agents in those areas, like that can go to them and say, what do you have? What do you have coming on? Who do you know in the area that might be selling? Those kind of things. Because just going on MLS, it used to work, right? Like 3, 4, 5 years ago, but you just can't really do it anymore. So the thing I'm noticing now, this time of year, one of the things you should do with MLS is look at stuff that's maybe 20% overpriced for a flip, that's been on for about 100 days, because you've got a lot right now that's been sitting through the spring and the summer. So this is an opportunity to kind of strategize a little bit on the MLS stuff, and maybe if it's something's listed for $120, but you need to pick it up for $95 to get it, call the agent and see how motivated they are. Because if it's in an area where most of the flips sell for under 100, you might not get people that are even looking at it. So just some little small strategies, but I would say the auctions, depending on what they are, still work. Online auctions are tough because you don't know if it's going to go back under, once you get it, you get the property, you don't hit the reserve, and then you go on Zoom or Hubzu and it's on there 5 times, and you sort of have to luck out to get them. So again, wholesalers, really, I see a lot of people doing mailers. I know you guys have done entire meetups talking about mailers, and I'm not an expert on that, but like some of the big names up where I am, like CR Property Group, they do like, I want to say 100,000 pieces a month,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, Creig does a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, Creig and Xander. So, and they do really good work. I really like them because they always raise the average sales price in the neighborhood. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later. That's another topic. But that's good. So yeah, that's one of the main ways. But we're doing it every day. So we have the background of the guys that are looking. We have. I was going to touch on this later, but I'll talk about it now. We have a spreadsheet where we have like acquisition call. Investor comes to us and they say, okay, we want you to help us find properties, which a lot of people do. Okay, here's the acquisition price I'm looking for. Here's the ARV I'm looking for. Here's the areas I'm looking in. And what we do is we share that with our team, and we all look. So we have sort of a spreadsheet of maybe at this point, 8 to 10 people that we're consistently sort of working with, investors, flippers, even rental investors as well. And we have their criteria sort of in this rubric. And so, we just constantly look, and we have our team, and we meet and talk about it. So it's just more of a consistency thing, and we could hear it anywhere, but if I'm thinking about your criteria, and I have like 100 wholesalers email me, I'm going on Maris 5 times a day, I'm looking at HUD Home Store, there's a chance that I can see something that you might like and hook you up with it.
And you wanted me to skip that question? That was a great answer. What are you talking about? That was great. That's a ton of value. And by the way, the one thing about these guys is they have your interest in mind. Yeah, they could sell you a house, But if they sell you the right house and then sell the house that you're exiting out of the right way, and they've done well by you, you guys can do business for life as opposed to a one-off transaction. And that spreadsheet thing of them understanding what the real value of a house is, what your real exit could be, what your real profit could be, that's how you do real business.
I agree, and thank you for acknowledging that. Client for life is very important to us. We treat each client like it's our own, and we would only advise you what we would do. So we've got the investment knowledge to guide you, and we've made a lot of people a lot of money, and we want to help you with that. One of the things that's also is Zach was pointing out was about rental income. You know, rentals are up. Rental income is up 10%. Your rental market. I get probably 35 to 40 calls a day for rentals. It is absolutely the hot topic right now. And we have a whole rental department that basically needs rentals. So from an investment standpoint, there's a major market right now for buying and even holding, if you want, and renting them. So just another piece that we can certainly help you with Northrop Realty. Hold on, any Kristian?
I was to say back to what Zach was talking about. You know, as far as acquisition, how can we help out with that? I think he touched on most of it, but again, I go back to the boots on the ground. I mean, it's as simple as us hosting an open house in maybe an older neighborhood, and you have a couple of the neighbors that come over and they say, hey, you know what, this house is a lot nicer than mine, but you know, do you think somebody would want to buy mine? You know, and the next day I can have an investor that I know is maybe on that spreadsheet, I know he likes that neighborhood, it's the right acquisition price, and hey, he might come in and scoop it up, and it's a win-win for everybody. So those are just kind of some of the unconventional ways that, you know, a lot of people don't think of. And even as you know, even just the relationships that we have with even some of the larger builders that are building 40, 50, 60 homes a year, sometimes they'll give me a call or they'll shoot me a text and say, hey, you know what, I've got too many going at once, and I got a little too much on my plate. Here's a property I scooped up, I'm not trying to make any money off it, pass it along to one of your investors. You know, and that's kind of them showing good faith to me being able to help out another investor that maybe couldn't have picked up that property because they didn't have that opportunity, the timing wasn't right, or they didn't have the cash at the moment. But now they can go ahead, they can get a hard money loan if they need it, and they can scoop up a property that would have been very competitive otherwise. So again, those are just some of the different kind of outside of the box kind of ways we can help out.
Craig, I want to circle back on the rental piece that you just brought up, because I think that is important. If you don't know these stuff off the top of your head, bear with me for leading you somewhere you may not go. But are people looking at 1 and 2 bedroom condos for rentals? Are they looking at single families rentals? What's the hot rental in the area?
I mean, I think the hot rental is probably the townhouse market being the most. Condos tend to be a little smaller in that way, so I think the townhouses allow you a little bit more, and the market in townhouses right now are good. So townhouses being number 1, singles actually are higher than condos, believe it or not. So single family houses, we're getting a lot of, military's bringing in, this is bringing 2,000 people this way, by the way. If you don't know, within the next, by 2020, they are predicted to have 2,000 more people coming from DISA alone from Virginia into this Maryland market. Wow. They're renting. They're not buying right now. You know, we all joke about the athletes. A lot of them rent because they don't know their contracts yet. Right. They are really big high-end rentals for us. We rent to a lot of players there who pay a lot of good money just because until they actually get their contract signed. So, you know, for extensions at least.
Yeah. Zach, you brought up marketing and how you guys really, Creig in the Northrop Realty is a marketing machine for you guys. Certainly together you guys will do 50 million. You probably did, what, 100 a quarter last year?
Deals?
Yeah.
Close to 100.
Yeah, so, you know, these guys are top performers with Creig and without them on their own, so successful people. But you mentioned marketing. Talk about not just the marketing that you guys do, but that Creig and Northrop Realty does, a handful of things that you guys do to differentiate.
Can I touch on it? No, go ahead, sorry.
So, yeah, the best thing about working with Creig is people know who he is. I mean, he's just been doing commercials for such a long time that it's a great reach that we have in the area. And I think that what makes it more impressive, when I got into the business, it trickles down to the other agents. Like, I would have agents come to me and say, you know, you guys are the most professional brokerage or team that we've worked with. And that in and of itself is marketing, because we believe that having good relationships with your peers and other agents, not just for business, but just to enjoy what you do, is super important. But, you know, Creig's been a big believer in just getting the message out there, letting people know who he is, who we are, and, you know, video is a huge part of what we do. Certainly Creig, over the years with the commercials, been in the Super Bowl, you know, and certainly didn't spare any expense with these commercials, you know, we're in agreement with that too. So I think the brand is strong. The brand has a lot of good recognition because of the professional nature of the agents, but the way that when I came in, it's really a plug-and-play system. You know, now that I'm talking about this, I actually wrote on here that I wanted you to talk about, from a marketing perspective, what are the 5 things that, you know, you've taught us that Northrop does the best?
Okay, well, with that, you know, one of the things that we first started years and years ago, and everybody's calling it new, and I know HGTV, they watch that now, it's called staging. You know, one of the things that we do for all of our properties is complimentary staging. Houses are staged, so 50% faster houses aren't staged, and for 17% more money. So we stage every one of our properties, and it's all complimentary.
You should make sure that they don't think you're bringing the furniture.
No, you're right. There's 3 options actually. There is the, you know, the typical stage your own furniture, costs you nothing. There's virtual staging, actually costs you minimal. If we absorb that actually. We can actually virtually stage your house now because a lot of things are online, and it looks like a model. And then it's kind of cool. Then you walk in and they can visualize their own. So that's the other side, or bringing in furniture. That's an option. That's a costly option. I'm not really a huge advocate. We're doing a test right now. I did a vacant property, I did a virtual stage property, and I did a staged, fully furnished property, and we're seeing which one sells faster right now. We're actually doing a case study on it. So that's the staging side. The other things is the reach. You know, we talk about, we have a match.com for homes, so it's same as investors. You know, if you were looking for a certain thing, we put you in our system, it'll match up every property we're working on now for the next 5 years. We have a whole huge database of that. It's called Match.com from Homes, and it's a really neat thing that we offer exclusive to the Northrop Realty. We also we partner with Waze. Waze is the new MapQuest out there. Well, if you ever seen the Dunkin' Donut app, look for the Northrop Realty app. It's out there as well. So kind of a neat thing in the technology world. You know, from the other sides of marketing, as we touched on, the TVs, the prints, things like that, we're out there. We're branded. Long & Foster, largest relocation brokerage in the United States. We bring a lot of relocations in and out. And then lastly, there's a product that we've sort of endorsed and put out about 3 years ago. When I saw it, I said, it's the next thing. It's the next thing in real estate, and we embrace it. We do it for every property. Last year, we sold 30 houses cash, as is, and they never even walked in the property, which is amazing what technology can do for you. So it's called the Matterport. The Matterport's a 3D device that we put in all of our houses that takes like you really live there. You can actually, it's done so well that you can act like you're sitting in the living room, basically, and you can go in the kitchen and make some breakfast if you want. It's that amazing. So it's an incredible thing, and it's really opened up our markets to international, to China, and a lot of the other countries. But also what it's also done is, let's just say I'm in China. We just added this new feature. We're in China, and a lot of people have these issues with how furniture fits in a house. So we have a new program just came out, we're introducing it, that basically in China they can take a picture of that dining room table and put it in your home today and see if it fits. That's cool. Pretty cool. These are the kind of new things that we're on the cutting edge of technology. We're certainly on all the top engines. We're partnered with Zillow. So we're out there. That's who you want to be secure that we're going to get your house sold. And that's really a couple of the 5 main differences.
So let's go down that path, and Zach, maybe you can pick it up here. What are buyers looking for in a house aesthetically? Of course, when they come in and it's staged properly, that's great. What's going on back there? You guys okay? What are buyers looking for in a home?
Good question.
Yeah.
So
sorry,
I think there's 2 parts to this question. I'll answer the first one, and then I'll kind of kick it over to Kristian. I think the materials that you guys use are super important right now. The colors that you're using in the material. So what I mean is, what color is being used or has been used the last few years that everybody hates?
Light
gray. Repose gray, whoever makes it. Sherwin-Williams or whoever. But I think what you guys need to do is you need to focus on competing with homes that people live in. So like, for example, if I have a buyer and I walk into a home that maybe was renovated by the owner 5 to 7 years ago, and I walk in and I see it's got Brazilian cherrywood floors, it's got cherry cabinets, it's got the highest end, concrete countertops or quartz or something, and then I go into one of your flips, other than being new and brand new and having all the new parts, what are you doing to separate yourselves? So what you need to be thinking about is you need to be on Pinterest, okay? You need to be looking at what the trends are. Some of the things that we've noticed in working with a lot of investors, the better investors are taking a lot more chances. So you're seeing things like wallpaper again, okay? You're seeing a lot of like wood accents. You're seeing mixed metals, meaning like you could have a kitchen where the sink is brass and the hardware on the cabinets is like a matte black, okay? People are taking chances. It's not white shaker cabinets and those brushed nickel bars on every house. I mean, it still works, but you know, you gotta look at what's selling in the area. You have to know the area that you're selling in. If you're doing a $150,000 rehab in, let's just say, Northwood, right? That probably is fine for the foreseeable future. But if you're in Roland Park and you're buying something for $250 and selling it for $550, you're not gonna be able to get away with that, okay? So you've just gotta be cognizant of even like mixing the color of the cabinets on the island to the cabinets in the kitchen, right? Doing two different colors, like a gray and a white or a gray and a brown. I've seen a lot of investors doing like really cool pieces of wood on the islands, like a thick piece of like marine wood or something different that kind of just sticks out a little bit. But just the other thing we talked about is like people are going retro. Like, so you see a lot of like hotel style vanities with, you know, like a lot of wood accents, a lot of even like copper sinks and that kind of stuff. So certainly you have to have your margins there, right? I'm not saying to do this if you're in Bel Air Edison, you know, doing a rental flip, like don't, you know, don't blow it out of the water. But my point is, you can get more money on the resale without spending more money on the materials. That's important to know. And when you talk to us, like say you pick up a property from a wholesaler, and you know somebody is your agent, and you're like, look, this is what I'm going to do. Get their tail in there before you start demoing, before you do any of that stuff. Hire your agent earlier, because if they're doing a lot of transactions and they're seeing a lot of houses like we are, they can tell you, here's what owners do, here's what like shitty flippers do, right? And here's what you need to do, okay? So you got to keep that stuff in mind, but that's more of like the material side of things. You know, like shiplap is big right now, but like earth tones more for the paint colors. So you could do like a tan or even like a green or a bluish hue. And a lot of people are doing like the chair rail and then putting like one color below, one color above. So things that aren't necessarily costing you a lot more money. You know, I'm a big advocate of crown molding. I love that kind of stuff. Like shadow boxes, all that stuff is cool. I know it costs more money, but again, people see it and they want your house more when you do that kind of stuff. So when you're going through, if it's all white trim, you know, with the gray paint and everything's silver, and it's like, it's boring. I don't want to see that, you know what I mean? So if you're in an area that's probably over 150,000 with the ARV, you've got to make some different changes and different choices. Just be a little bit more unique, try to stick out. And the ones that are doing that are getting way higher prices than everybody else. So, and then the other piece was functionality. Yeah. Like, what are buyers looking for from a function standpoint? And I'll kick that over to Kristian.
Yes, I think Zach made a lot of good points. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that. And as you have some areas that have higher inventory sitting on the market because there's more competition, then you really just, you know, even more so, you really need to stand out. You need to do something different. So, you know, one of the recommendations I gave a builder a while ago, he was asking, well, what's the next trend? And I said, you know what? Go to the model home in that neighborhood. The model home, whoever that builder is, they're spending plenty on research and development to find out, okay, what's the next hot trend? What do people want? Before they spend hundreds of millions on a neighborhood, they're going to make sure they're putting the products and the finishes in that people want. So go check out a model home. See what they're selling. You know, see what options. Talk to the rep there and find out what are most people optioning out. You know, the model might start at 500, might go up to 800 with options. The rep's going to tell you which options people are selecting, which ones they're not, and you know, that gives you a pretty good idea of what people want. As he mentioned earlier, Pinterest. I mean, you get on there, and you know, half the buyers I show, you know, you hear one of the buyers, oh yeah, I saw that on Pinterest or I saw it on HGTV. So that's what they expect. So you know, you need to cater to their needs. So, and it does mean doing things a little different, and you know, just trying to match what they want.
And I think that's a good point about what they expect too. You know, the bare minimum isn't enough anymore. You have to put high-end, good quality stuff to get the going rate, and I think that's a good point for sure. All right, so that's what they're looking for. What are some things to watch out for? Pitfalls for investors, guys.
Take that.
Take it.
So the pitfalls for investors to avoid.
Yeah, I'll cover a couple and then kick it over to Kristian.
Yep.
Okay, this is a big one, okay? Don't list your property or have showings until it's done, okay? And stop cutting corners. Like, just finish the damn house. I'm telling you right now, I've had so many chances. Now, if you can pre-sell it and they pick out the options and do that stuff, that's fine, that's different. I'm talking about when you tell me the house is done, and I haven't been there in 3 weeks, and I go look at it the day we were listing it, and it's not done. Your quarter round is missing in half the rooms, the trim's all jacked up, there's cracked drywall, it's like you're hurting yourself. And on top of that, one of the things I'm not saying telling every investor, but think about doing a pre-inspection, guys. Because if you have a good local inspector, I work out deals with them where I say, look, if my sellers do pre-inspections, will you give it to them for a discount? And they will. You know what I mean? They'll do a quicker inspection, more of like an investor inspection versus a 3 or 4 hour home buyer inspection. And they'll get you right so that you can make those little repairs. And you're in the damn house for 6 months, you probably aren't seeing it the same way I am. Right? I'm coming in with a fresh set of eyes. So if we walk through a week or two before, do your punch list, please. I've seen it crush people's margins. I've seen people have to rent properties because of that. And on top of it, you know, if you don't ever do that stuff, I've sold properties 3 or 4 times before because they keep falling through from the home inspection. And look, we know we're going to waste some time. That's not a problem. You're losing, and you have a lot more on the line than we do when we're selling your house. We might lose 10 or 20 hours of our work year, but you might lose $20,000, okay? So just do yourselves a favor, and if you don't do a pre-inspection, just go through that thing and just make sure it's done. And don't tell me it's done until it's done, because I trust you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's not done, you're like, hey, we're going to finish the deck in a week. It's not done. I'm like, all right, if we can pass it and I think it's okay, we can let everybody know that it's not done yet. But it's just annoying when there's all those surprises because we're really putting out the effort. We're doing videos, we're putting it on Facebook, we're calling our sphere, we're calling the agents we know, and if you have a good product that's just not finished, it's gonna hurt you. So that's one aspect of it. The other one is know what kind of a flipper you are. Like, don't just think because you're the newest that you're going to get the most money. I call that the Joe Flacco, right? You don't deserve it, okay? You might be able to try to want it, but like, you got to look. If CR Property Group's done 3 flips in your neighborhood, most of any investors aren't as good as they are. So if you see they have the 3 highest comps and yours isn't better than theirs, stop trying to beat their price, okay? Because you think that, okay, I can always, hopefully you don't think like this, but when you overprice a home intentionally, this is any seller, you end up selling it for less than you would have had you priced it right in the beginning, okay? Any realtor can tell you that, okay? So price them right when you go in and don't just try to have the highest comp. If you have the nicest house or the most unique house, then yeah, go for it. And the way we are, we want to get you the highest price. We typically do, but we're not magicians, okay? So if your house sucks, then just be realistic, you know?
Good advice.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good. I mean, it's true.
Clean it up, right? Clean that thing before it comes in. I hate walking in and the great, nice dark hardwood floors and they're completely all dusty. Now, look, if it's been on the market for 2 months, that's probably another issue. But intermittently go in and clean the thing. People care about that stuff. And what they're going to do is they're going to knock you on their offer just from the not feeling like it's a really good flip. So let me think one more and I'll give it to Kristian here. Oh yeah, when you guys are, okay, we list it, it's a really nice flip and we sell it, right? Have somebody on hand. So like, I hear a lot like, oh, I hate that contractor like that did my work. Like as soon as the flip is done, like you never talk to them again. That said, you gotta line up somebody to do these inspection repairs. Have them lined up when the property hits the market. Because too many times, I have a really good contractor, a couple of them, and I refer them all the time, but sometimes it's to people that, you know, do a ton of flips, and I'm like, how do you not have somebody that can go through after these home inspections come in and do these repairs? Because a lot of the times, you guys know these deals get delayed because the repairs are not done. Or they're done bad and the people want it redone or they want certifications and all this stuff. So make sure that when that property hits, if it's about to go under contract, which hopefully is right away, you have somebody lined up to do the repairs. And also, expect to do the repairs. Like, if it's a flip, they think that it's a new house. They don't know that, you know, I don't know, they should know, but if you've gone on and ripped the entire thing apart, you've gutted it, right? It can be a really good flip. You're usually always going to have some kind of list, right? So just be open to that. Most investors are. I find that investors are easier to work with the home inspections, but again, it's having this planned out prior and not just going in blind and just putting it on the market and you get a contract right away. You got to get the thing done, okay? So, and then
yeah, I think along the lines of what Zach said, with not putting the property on the market until it's completely done, and I've seen it. I think Zach's seen it a million times. We've seen it, whether helping a seller or buyer. You only get one chance. You only get one first impression. So, and that's the problem with even listing it saying, okay, the deck will be put on next, or we're just about to finish this. Chances are 80%, 90% of those buyers are never coming back. They're going to go find the next home that is done and that looks good. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, a lot of investors, investors I've worked with in the past don't necessarily realize it, because everybody's excited. They want to get it on the market. It's for them, it's 99% done. For that buyer, it has that 1% that other property didn't have, because they're going out to look at 3 or 4 properties that day, and if your home isn't up to par, you just lost that buyer over something as small as it may be. So I think that's just one big takeaway, is you get that one chance at a first impression. Just make sure it's everything you got. And along the lines of pitfalls, those are kind of on the back end, but obviously we're here to help on the front end as well. I just had an investor recently. He was looking at a lot up in Carroll County, just a small lot, probably $35,000 lot. He was going to build a $275,000 home on it, and he just wanted to, for him it was okay, let's just get it done. Here's my cash offer. I don't really want to do all the feasibility study or any of that stuff. And I said, look, I know it's going to take a little while, and who knows, maybe it's a little bit of cash out of your pocket in the beginning, but let's just make sure you can build that $275,000 home before you spend 35 grand on a lot. Long story short, about 45 days later, after doing his feasibility study, after checking title, after doing a boundary survey, he found out there was a fence. I mean, this was like an old lot. Nobody had touched anything in a long time. There was a fence that was encroaching by 6 feet. There was a roof overhang from the neighboring property. There were a few different things that, by the time he looked at the setbacks and what he was trying to build, it didn't work. And I told him, I said, pull the plug. So the same way we're quick to help you get a property, we're quick to help you pull the plug if it's not going to help you, if it's not going to benefit you. And it all goes back to kind of what we said in the beginning, is we're here for life. We really try to be there through the good and the bad, and make sure we're not just here to get a deal done. We're here to make sure you guys are taken care of, and you can do this for the long term.
They did great points. I mean, one thing that it's kind of funny when you sell your car. I use that example real quick. You never cleaned it better when you take it back in the dealership because you want more money. It's the same way for a house, right? Let's clean it up for that first impression. So I echo what they say about getting it clean. The other thing that's a killer is carrying cost. Carrying cost will kill you as an investor. I have dealt with a builder who was, this is years and years ago, that was struggling and realizing that his carrying cost was so high, so hence we had to figure out a program to get his product sold faster. And so carrying cost is definitely the killer of investors that eat your money up very fast. So the faster you ultimately can get the project done, which means great contractors, and the faster you can sell the property, which means great realtors. Our average market time is 17 days, and our 98% of list price. That's who you want to use, somebody who has a track record, certainly. As for pitfalls, one of the biggest things, and it's happened more than I've ever seen in any year in selling real estate, is that we're a very big moisture state. So the issue is the buyers are walking in your house or the house or investment house or whatever it is, and they're going right to the basement. They're not even looking on the first level. They're not looking on the second level. They're going right for the basement, and they want to know if you have leaks. They want to know, because there's so much water going on, that the most important thing to them is mold and water. And if there's water stains anywhere, they're seeing it. If there's taping joints not done right, they're calling it water. It is a water incredible issue that we're dealing with right now, and people are being very hesitant buying properties because of that. So again, just there are pitfalls that going into a property, make sure that you get that covered coming in.
Very smart. All right, we're going to get some questions. I know you had one here in a minute, but first I wanted Zach and the guys to give us some areas where you still see value for investors, Zach. Again, these guys are seeing thousands and thousands of properties a year.
Yeah, so my expertise is Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Harford County, for the most part. I do a little Carroll, Howard, and Anne Arundel, but I was born and raised in Baltimore City, and I live now in northern Baltimore County, but I have, that's the majority of my experience. So I wanted to mention a couple zip codes and some areas that you guys could probably write down here that I still think have good margins now. So either the word is out and there's still inventory there, or the word isn't quite out yet on these. And I've done flips in every one of these areas, so I can tell you that I know what the margins are, I know what the ARVs are. So one of the big ones lately for me has been 21224 outside of Canton. So we're talking about near Patterson Park. We're talking Patterson Park, Highlandtown, Greektown. Those are specifically what I'm talking about. Now, I just did the highest deal in Greektown with RJ Breeden. It was 285. It didn't even have a master bath in it. And if you would have said that to somebody 3 years ago, they would have laughed at you, okay? Now, there's a lot of development going on in Greektown. Right across from Bayview on Eastern Avenue, they're doing a huge complex, mostly commercial. And it's really, it's like Canton Crossing, if you guys know Baltimore. Canton Crossing, where the Target is and the DSW and where the Marriott is and all that. That type of scale project. There was already a lot of people in Canton, so it wasn't as big of a shock. But Eastern Avenue is about to get a lot busier, okay? Because that place is going to draw a lot of people. Now, what happens is with an area like Canton, the reason why Canton specifically has leveled off, if not started to decrease in price, is because the secret is out and there is a ton of inventory there right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. If anybody has properties, flip properties in Canton, it's a bloodbath. It's really tough. I'm good friends with the Shore Group, who does a lot of business down there, RJ Breeden, a lot of the guys, we talk all the time and just about trends and what's going on in the market, and it's tough. So keep that in mind. And the reason why the other areas benefit is because Canton is not landlocked, okay? You have an area like Locust Point, landlocked. An area like Sparrows Point, landlocked. So those values are going to continue to go up, okay? Now, the secret's out on both of those. So Sparrows Point, Locust Point, you ain't getting any deals there right now. Even Sparrows Point, I mean, it's tough to pick up anything single family under 200,000. And I'm seeing multiple offers and everything getting bid up. But the reason why the other areas benefit is because it's just gentrification. Everything's moving outside of Canton, and people are saying, wait a minute, if I can be 3 or 4 blocks north of Eastern Avenue, and I can pay $200,000 less for the same house, I'm gonna take it. I'll give you guys a story. Charm City Builders came in. I did a deal last year on Pratt Street, Pratt and Conklin, like right in Highlandtown. And Charm City, my investor was going to list it 2 years ago, had all these problems with the contractor, it flooded, all these issues. It ended up getting delayed a year. We were going to list this property for $225 in 2016. We sold it for $293 in 2017 because Charm City Builders came in and bought 7 houses within like 2 blocks, and they completely changed the entire landscape of the neighborhood. So that happened like, not overnight, but it happened over about a 6-month period. So the point is we got lucky with it, and at this point, it's really tough to pick up shells for under 100 grand in Highlandtown, but if you can find something under $125 or 100, and it's closer to Eastern Avenue, I mean, you can push 300,000 or more pretty easily. Greektown, again, a little bit further down Eastern Avenue, but you're going, Brewers Hill is adjacent to Greektown. So you've got some Ryan Homes communities over there, but Greektown is a really secluded almost little neighborhood between a bunch of old industrial parks. So you don't have a high crime rate or anything like that compared to some of the other areas. I'm probably not supposed to talk about that.
What about Remington?
Remington's great.
Where they're building the new food plaza, they just
our house.
Yeah.
So I just did a deal on Remington Avenue. Guy picked it up for $93. We sold it for $260. And yeah, Remington, even down further, like 25th Street and like Barclay is another big one that's sort of, the word hasn't gotten out yet, like that 1-8 zip code south of, say, Charles Village, in those areas. Station North, if you guys are familiar with those areas. So those are still like pretty good acquisition pickups where, you can get stuff under 100,000. Now some of the other ones I had on here, Remington, Holland's Market's a big one right now. I see a lot of that. West of Martin Luther King Boulevard, close to the stadium. And I actually found out the highest revenue Airbnb is in Ridgely's Delight, which is close to Holland's Market, $121,000 a year in revenue. It's the highest in Baltimore. Interesting. So that's west of the stadiums. So those are areas where you can pick up pretty low, and you're getting, these are all over 200K ARV areas. Reservoir Hill, guys, great area. Okay, I have a property, I was there today on Madison Avenue, picked it up for $120, listed for close to 400. Going for chap on that one, getting close. 06 and 14. So I grew up in 14, otherwise known as Laurelville, Hamilton area. Great zip code. I would say the word's kind of out on that at this point. You can still pick up some, but that 06 is still pretty strong. Over off Bel Air Road, if you guys are familiar, up close to Overly. Had an investor picked one up for 100 lately. We just sold it for 285. So some good stuff there. And the west side, so like 15, 16, and 17, very good areas off Liberty Heights. You can still pick them up for pretty good, under 100 or around 100. I had a guy talk about ballroom auctions, picked up a house in Silburn for $5,000, a single family, right behind Pimlico Racecourse, knocked it over, and we're putting up a 250 new construction. So, you know, those are some areas in the Baltimore area, and also Harford County is a good one. You're seeing a lot in like northern Harford County, like Havre de Grace, Aberdeen, Churchville. A lot of good, even Edgewood, a lot of good opportunities, especially for rentals. Edgewood's a good one. You can pick them up for like 50 grand. You can get like 1,200 a month in the better parts of Edgewood. So, you know, for like like a townhouse, something like that. So
really good stuff.
Yeah.
I know you guys probably have time for a couple questions, and I don't know if you had anything else before we take questions.
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, on the other side of the world.
Yeah, go ahead.
You lived in the Baltimore world. You got DC. DC is the hottest market in the nation, ladies and gentlemen. Average market time is 10 days. You get anything in DC, take it and run. The other part of it is the Howard County for the schools, and now the moratorium, buy new, got some, you know, model leasebacks. I think there's 4 left, but, you know, ideally they're good opportunities. They're the new designs, and cost you, you know, really just, they're paying for themselves, and you're making equity through the growth of the values, because they raise the prices about 5,000, you know, 5,000 every house they sell. So by the time they finish, times 150 subdivision, you can do the math.
You actually don't know this, but you sold my first cousin a house in Winnacopia Farms.
Oh, there you go. See, I like that. So, Anne Arundel, all about the water. Anything you can get on the water, a lot of tear downs, grab it and go. That's a good side. Bethesda, tear downs are the big thing in Montgomery County. Bethesda being, Chevy Chase, Bethesda being your hot area there. And, you know, we talk about, you know, we're here with hard money bankers, and, you know, it's an interesting story, and I want to thank them for putting this on today, by the way. Let's give them a round of applause. So thank you. I get a random call from my cousin that's called me up and says, you know, oh, you're doing this panel, and she goes, I used them as my first flip, and I tell you, it was the best experience ever. So that's a testimonial to him and your company, so I want to acknowledge that as well. There, so awesome. that part of it. So let's do some questions.
That's awesome. Gentleman with the amazing hat raised his hand earlier. I mean, you have to get first dibs.
Okay, so the pitfalls is a great topic. Primarily sound like you're talking about flips and getting houses ready and all the eye candy to make it, you know, something that people want. But on the other side, for holds, rentals, are you advocating the same types of finishes for that, or something more durable?
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Yeah, I think there's definitely, I think it number one, it depends on what your long-term goal is. If you're going to hold it for like a really long time.
I'm looking for annuity for myself.
Right. So yeah, I think it is different. I mean, I think that for whatever reason, people like granite or stone countertops, so you just go bottom rung granite on those. You can do oak cabinets. But I'm a big fan of even in carpet too, in rentals is good, because if you have like hardwood floors, they can get scratched up, and then you got to refinish the floors versus just ripping out the carpet. So I would say more sustainability with the rentals for sure. I do work with a lot of rental investors, and the ones that are doing more of it, they're making some smart choices, but they're not going to spend extra money on like the nicer sinks and things like that. Like that's more where like the color play and more of the aesthetics come into play with it, rather than spending more on more expensive finishes. I would not advocate for that with a rental, because if you own it for 20, 30 years, who gives a shit what it looks like then when you're going to go to sell it? You can put more money in then and rehab it again if you need to. So it's going to be beat up regardless. So my thing is go for durability, go for the oak. I'm not a big fan of Formica or laminate countertops. I think spend a little bit on that. Spend a little bit on the tile, like in the bathrooms and in the kitchen, so you're not ripping up that linoleum every time you have a tenant. But I would say on the carpet side of things, I like it because one of the things with carpet is when you put new carpet in, people get excited about it. It smells good, you know what I mean? It's kind of like paint. It's usually a really good ROI, carpet is. So just some...
I think he's right about that wholeheartedly. First of all, base grade beige is great. We have a warehouse of it, right? That's all it takes because more than likely in a rental, they're not buying for that. The other side of that coin is we have a plug and play system. So you want to get in a rental business, you want an annuity. We basically can find you a rental, find the renter, get you the lease, check the credit, and you just did it overnight. That's the advantages. And if you want advice when you buy these rentals, what to fix, that's where the realtor comes in because we're going to be ultimately the ones selling in the future. So I always say, get us involved early. You guys always call us too late. Oh, by the way, I just put $100,000 in this property. How do I get it out? I'm sorry. You should have called me earlier, right?
One thing on that note? So on that note, he mentioned like property management. Use your people. We have guys because a lot of in real estate. We'll be honest. A lot of people say, "Oh, I hate rentals," but we have agents that will take care of you on the rental, on the listing side of things. Kick it back to your property management. We get that. We don't want to manage your property. We don't do that. But as far as if you're getting it ready and you want help renting it, we have a lot of reach. And you might do it on your own, and that might be your channel. But if you're using somebody, we can still do that. We can still do pictures, and we can do nice pictures of your rentals, which not a lot of people offer. My personal assistant is a professional photographer, and I deploy her to rental clients all the time. Even if one of our guys is the one handling all the applications and the calls coming in, we can support that kind of stuff. So just
let's get some other questions. Other questions, yes?
Yes, I was wondering how we could hook up with you guys to give you what our business plan is, what we're looking for, and like what you said.
We do it every day, and so honestly, we just sit down with a free consultation. We'll do that for you. If you're looking at a property, we'll do free CMAs for you. We do a lot of complimentary for that because we want to build that relationship. Yeah. You literally would just give them a call. They'll sit down with you, get all your business up. We put you in a criteria every time, and it'll ping you for everything you're looking for.
Now, who do I get a hold of?
You can certainly get a hold of Zack. Either one of them would take care of
coffee and just sit down and go over your criteria. We'll do that with anybody.
We'd love to build your business. I would say I make a lot of people other money, a lot of money.
500 business cards in his pocket right now.
All right, there you go. That's how. Just give us a call. Any other questions, guys? Good questions. There. Yes.
So in addition to just boots on the ground, when I look at the MLS and find a good comp for what a rental is going to build, what a property will rent for, say it's $1,400 a month. Are there other things that you guys use to find out what are the rental comps in the area? Because you're going knocking next door, sort of talking to neighbors, next thing you know, they're paying $1,650. Yeah. But you're looking on the MLS, there's
a lot of this is interesting. I do this a lot. Is I'll go on, like, because HomeSnap is a realtor app that has rentals and sales. I'll go on several, and this is something you guys can do, and I use this for sales too. I'll go on some of those sites and I'll say, what are they I'll do a little bit more research. It's basically what I'm trying to say is, I'll dig a little deeper. I go on like 5 different sites and say, what are they expecting these to rent for? And then I'll go on Craigslist and I'll look, what are people advertising them to rent for right now? And what I do is similar to a listing, I'll just gather as much data as I can about who's saying what. And I guess it's got to be the knowledge of the area. I mean, you got to find somebody who, like, if it's anywhere in Baltimore or Baltimore County, like, I'll be able to tell you exactly what I think you can rent it for, and I'm usually very accurate. But that goes back to the piece about, like, leveraging out your realtor and using somebody who knows the area where you own those rentals, and let them be the ones, to do that research for you. So I think just more of it's just local area knowledge, drawing on a bunch of different rubrics of how people accumulate, okay, what is the potential rental price here, and then just kind of, not necessarily doing the average, but using all that data, more data points, you're going to be more accurate.
Good question. Yes. Sorry, go ahead. One more time and I'll get you, Ben. Go ahead.
What's the best way to find wholesalers?
Through realtors.
Yeah. So, like, I would say...
You're asking a realtor that question, I'm going to answer.
The best place is probably right here.
Yeah, right here.
Like, even since, like, everybody, like, said they were going to this event, how many, like, messages have been sent through that messaging thing saying, there's been like 20 of them.
Terry Royce is right there. Terry,
Yeah,
you want to raise your hand? Terry's one of the larger wholesalers in the area. So there's.
But the point is, I have relationships with individual wholesalers that I go to personally. It's a small amount because, granted, these guys want to make top dollar. The more people that know them, the more money they make. Right. So, I have a good relationship with somebody like Xander Cruz, who runs CR Properties with Creig. He knows that I get deals done. We will call each other all the time. What do you got here? Do you have? They own. I ran into them at lunch the other day. They own 160 rentals, and he said the next 2 years they want to own 1,000. Yep. Okay, they're way more now getting into the wholesale game than they're getting away from flipping because the market's oversaturated a little bit. So that goes into why, like you're asking, it's not just a traditional, I'll just lowball this person on Maris. It doesn't work anymore because it's going above list price now. Yeah. So yeah, it's just the relationships. I think that's what we all need to do when the market gets disrupted. We are doubling down on our past clients. Yeah. Those are our people that we trust. We're not cold calling 100 people. We're calling our sphere and saying, hey, do you need your car detailed? Do you need a contractor? Do you need someone to clean your gutters? Because we can provide that for you. We can't do it. We're not going to do it, but we know the people that can. So we're more in the business of advising and providing for people, and we can do that for you too. If you say, look, I want to buy a property for $100,000 and I want to sell it for $275. Give me like 3 or 4 areas I can do that. I don't care where it is. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. So I think that if you have a relationship with a wholesaler, that's great. It's rare that they're going to be exclusive to you, but our ears are to the street enough where the deals come up and we hear about them early.
So. Good point. Question back there, yep.
Hi, Jack Easter with Century 21. I've had 4 or 5 clients people calling in this week about getting rental properties that are furnished rental properties. Do you guys have a way for realtors to find these rental properties that are furnished, or ways or solutions? Because I've got also investor clients that have empty rentals, and they could put furniture in there. Do you guys have any solutions for helping these people and for us to help clients to find furnished rentals?
Well,
not like on Airbnb.
Well, right. That's a great question. Yes, we have actually a warehouse of furniture that we could furnish them if there's investors that want to do that. But more importantly is we partner up with the Howard County side. There's Turf Valley that's got month-to-month furnished rentals. Island Club is another one here. So we basically partner up with them in our areas that we service. So we have that relationships with them. That's how we handle that, because we deal with a lot of clients that come in that maybe not be ready to buy, that need to be here for school especially, and then we find them a house. So yes, we have a lot of that. Right.
So let me ask that.
Go ahead, sir.
So you're talking about tenants that are looking for furnished rentals. I mean, great question for the room. I mean, would be like, do you guys ever rent any of your properties furnished? Is that something you guys do? You do? Anybody else rent them furnished? So it's scarce. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you have let's talk afterwards. We can, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we can.
Well, certainly, you can always go and you can find these guys at northroprealty.com, and then you can directly find them on the site. So northroprealty.com or Facebook, any of that, and of course, they're the names anyway at northroprealty.com is there.
And we'll post it in the meetup group so you guys can have all that. We'll give everyone's contact information and all that. If there's no more questions, okay.
Sorry, one more.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to ask another question about the new Baltimore City inspecting everything every freaking year and all this stuff. Is that affecting rental people that have a lot of rentals in the city because they don't have to spend the whole week showing their property to inspectors? How's that affecting people investing in Baltimore City?
I don't really do anything.
Yeah, so that's actually a great question, and I think that's perfect for the roundtable. I'm going to use that as a segue for what's coming up, because Ian Horowitz, who's one of our founding members here, has about 100 and whatever rentals. He knows that cold, which segues into what we're going to do afterward. We're going to thank them here in a moment, but we'll have a little break, bathroom, whatever you have you. Then we'll do little breakout sessions. Terry Royce will be here, Ian Horowitz will be here talking wholesaling, Scott Freitag, Hard Money Bakers, Tony, our lending director. So if you guys have hard money questions, if you have wholesaling questions, you have investor questions, you'll do that. So let's take a 5 or so minute break, come back, and then we'll have breakout sessions all around the room. Ask Ian, he's a big tall guy in a maroon shirt. But guys, before you leave, why don't you thank Zack, Creig, and Kristian here for their time.
Thank you guys.